Hello and welcome. This is Anna with Anna Van Lucy Papercraft, and I'm super excited and a little nervous being the guest stamper for Rhonda's very first Sale-A-Bration bootcamp. I know you're going to love all the classes, and she asked me to come up with a little extra card that I could show you today. And yeah, so I saw a very fun version of a slider card, and I'm going to show you how to make this. So it uses the Ringed with Nature bundle from the upcoming mini catalog, and it uses the Sale-A-Bration Designer Series paper. So and this is how it opens. Well, this is how it opens. So you can write your little message there. And the little, well, technique or trick here is to layer 2 of your panels here with dimensionals. And I'll show you how to make this. So let me slide that back in there. There we go. So we have an example. And yeah, so let's go ahead and make our card. Now, first thing you're going to need is your card base, of course. I'm using some basic wide thick cardstock, and I trimmed it down to 10 3/4 of an inch. So you just cut off on the 11-inch side, you just cut off a 1/4 inch, and then it's your regular 4 1/4 to the side. And let's go ahead and okay, so I'm just gonna fold that in, cutting off that little extra 1/4 of an inch there is going to give us that gap. I'm sorry, it's been a little while since my last video. So, alright, so you see there is a little gap there in the middle for our slider mechanism. Make sure you have nice and crisp folds, and then we're going to use some designer series paper. Don't worry too much about the measurements, they're all in the PDF tutorial that Rhonda is uploading to, or has uploaded to the online platform. So, but I scored these at 2 5/8 of an inch on either side. Okay, so let me grab my, I hope it's cooperating this time. I'm saying that and then it happens. Make sure you got it the right way. Okay. I'm always a little bit too much to the right. Okay, so there's your first panel. So now it's important that you do the other part the right way too. So this is easy peasy, and these are cut, like I said, you have all the measurements, but these are cut to 4 inch by 2 3/8. Okay, and at the end of the video I'll show you a little bit or I show you an extra card that is made the same way, just using different products, so a little bit of a bonus inspiration there. Okay, so there's our card base. We can put that aside for a little bit. Now, I already went ahead and I prepared a few pieces. I'm using here 2 die cuts. It's the second largest frames from our really awesome set of dies, the scallop contour dies. So you need 2 of these. Okay, you can use other shapes if you wanted to. But you want to make sure that you do have a little bit of space to write your message. The smaller you make this panel, the more of your writing inside there is going to show through. So that's why I love using this size. And here's a tip. If you tend to have a lot of embellishments on your cards, you know, decorating it, I recommend using the thick basic white as well. It's just going to be give you more stability there. So we're going to use 1 panel on the back. So we're going to flip that over actually, and then we're going to layer the other one here with dimensionals in the middle. But first I'm going to use another panel for decoration here, and I cut this to oh gosh, I want to say a little bit shorter than 2 5/8 and a little bit more than 3 7/8. The inside of this panel is a little bit of an odd measurement, so but that's roughly that. And then I embossed that with our tree rings embossing folder, and I placed mine here in the middle somewhere. I might have to flip it around. So that's how I ran it through. Now here's a tip. Remember, this is a very strong, a very thick embossing folder. So if you have a very strong stamp and cut and emboss machine like mine, it creates a lot of pressure. I didn't use the recommended sandwich. I just wanted to give you that tip. I used one, and then I put my embossing folder in there with the cardstock, and then I put a little bit of cardboard from our pumpkin, paper pumpkin kits in there, and then the number 3 plate. So it almost, with mine, it almost feels like it's, you know, there's no pressure there, but it actually is. So that way, why I'm saying this is that way my paper didn't break. It did actually appear a little bit. So you want to apply very little pressure, or you can spritz your cardstock before embossing it, of course, with a little bit of water. Don't use too much, just a little bit, because you know that white, the basic white regular cardstock can't take too much water. Anyways, long story short, wanted to give you that tip, and I'm gonna go ahead and place that on my front panel. Of course, you can stamp this or use some designer series paper, but I really wanted to use the embossing folder as well. Okay, so that's it. Now here is my little tip. Use a pencil or whatever you have, and again, flip. So this is the front of the label, and you flip it over so your, you know, the rougher side is facing you. And now what's really neat about this label actually is that the middle is easy to find. So if you count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is the one. Okay, and I'll just mark it here a little bit. And on this side too. This is where our middle section is. So that's halfway, because then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So it makes it really nice and easy. So now I know where to put my dimensionals. And we're going to do one more little case of counting here. So I'm using my regular dimensionals sheet, and you always have these side pieces. And if you take, let me show you. If you cut in like this, so you have that little mountain there, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think it was. Sorry if I just yelled into the camera. That should cover you all the way. So peel that off. Okay. And then make sure you place it kind of in the middle there. And just the 2 pencil marks help you just lining it up. Okay, so like that. Now if you wanted to include a little hidden message besides the fun slider mechanism, you could absolutely stamp on this or write your message. For example, if you want to put a gift card there, you could put your message on here before you put that together. Okay, so now first, if you want to try and see if it works out, you know, if you have enough room in here, then just put it down here. You see, it's our dimensional sides have the perfect size for that. Okay, so now let's hope I can get that on there. So you can actually line these two up. Just all the scalloped edges. You might see my beautiful gray hair there for a second. All right, phew, okay. Told you, I'm a little bit nervous. So you see now we have our dimensionals in there. And then before you move on, So you may not want to give this to somebody who is challenged with their fine motor skills. So, all right, so there we go. And our card slides nicely back and forth, and it keeps it closed. So, all right, so we got that. Now, let's do some stamping. I'll bring in a little bit of scrap paper here. Now, let's decorate our card. So I went ahead, like I said, I prepared a few pieces. So I die cut some soft suede with the tree rings dies, and I use, so if you have this really big one here, I just cut my cardstock so it would somewhat fit here, and so I just die cut this section here from the large dies. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and then I went ahead and I grabbed this one here, this coordinating middle section, and I die cut that from basic white cardstock. Now what I also did was I prefer to do a two-step process, so to speak, with our hybrid embossing folders. Like I said, my die cutting machine has a lot of pressure, and I'm not too excited about cutting into this embossing folder. I'm sure Stampin' Up! Tested it, you know, nice and well. It's just me preferring to do my die cutting first, and then I put it back in here and line it up and emboss it. That's how I did this piece. So I die cut it first, and then I took my die cut piece and I lined it up. It actually works pretty well. You might have to flip it over. And then I just ran it through the second time like that. And that's what I did with the regular sandwich then. So your base plate number one, and then the gray plate for thicker embossing folders. Okay. You could also do the same thing now with this one. You could line that up too, but I wanted to stamp my sentiment on there. So I just wanted to explain you real quick how I got there. Now, how did I do my this way? Okay. You might, if you have a plan on which way you want to turn your tree ring eventually on your card, you want to do a little test here. Okay. So I'm going to take my crumb cake, and we have this fun stamp here, that tree ring. And I'm going to ink that up in crumb cake, and I'm stamping off once because I want a lighter shade, and it's going to cover my whole basic white piece here. So wish me luck, that's going to come off. Okay, so, and we're going to close that and get it out of the way because I know I'm going to make a mess with it. And then I'm bringing in my sentiment and my Poppy Parade. And I love that these are photopolymer, so I can see where I stamp, inking it up. And my Poppy Parade. Let me check one more time because I want my sentiment to go in the right direction. Okay, and I'm going to stamp my Just For You right there. Ooh, perfect. I'm sorry guys, that's all the stamping we're going to do. So now we can use our glue, if I can find it. Okay, I'm just going to put some Tombow there. And I love how many different layering effects you can actually create with all these tree ring pieces. If you just got the bundle and don't know where to start, just start playing around with these layering effects. Emboss your pieces, die cut your pieces, use different colors, early espresso, soft suede, crumb cake, basic white, and very vanilla. So you can create some really fun effects there. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Now, again, I went ahead and prepared quite a bit here, all the small bits and pieces. Oops. So I'm bringing in my silicone sheet. I just prefer working with that. And first we're going to assemble our little mushrooms here. So I die cut the 2 stems from crumb cake, cardstock, and then the top pieces are crushed curry. I want the bigger one to be crushed curry. Oops, probably smeared my adhesive there. And the small one from Poppy Parade to pick up that color again. Okay. So yeah, so not going to touch them. Well, a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry while we're working here on our tree ring. What I like to do is, I know you can use mini glue dots. I have trouble getting them off the roll, so I like to use some tear and tape. I also find it easier to use at beginner classes because, you know, they can just tear off what they need and then they're good to go. Okay, so why am I doing this? Ooh, yeah, I'm lucky. Getting them off. Well, still got the second one, but it's coming off. All right. So this just gives me a lot of control over where I put what. And then I die cut all 4 branches that are in the die set, in a set of dies from Evening Evergreen. And now I'm just going to arrange them how I think I would like them. And then they're just sticking to the, let's see here, I think I had that one down here. So sometimes I find that hard to do with mini glue dots, or you have to trim down pieces, and this way I can just go ahead and attach them. Okay, so like that. Okay, because now I know exactly where I can put my dimensionals. And I like to use a little bit more here, simply because we have that embossed layer. Oops. Okay, let's move that to the side for a second. And I'm going to take this off for a second. That's just a little bit easier to then place it on here. Is my sentiment straight? Okay, and now I can go ahead and glue down my mushrooms. That should have dried by now. Oops, that was probably a little bit much again, but that's okay. Let's see. Like that. Okay, sorry, I was quiet there for a second, focusing on what I'm doing. And I mean, the truth is, we all love crafting because, you know, it's allowing us to kind of shut down our brains. So sorry, I forgot to talk there for a second. Okay, so that's our panel there. And now all that's left to do is put on our bow. Yes, I was a little bit anxious about tying a bow on camera, so sorry, I did that off camera too. I prepared that. But you guys all know how to tie a bow. So now, if you've seen me stamp before, if you've, you know, been to any of my classes, you know, I love our retired shimmery crystal effects for applying bows. I just do. I like it better than mini glow dots. So I'm kind of sad that I retired, but that's okay. So I'm just putting a dot there a little bit. And the reason I'm doing this is because compared to mini glue dots, this actually dries up, like, and hardens, so it's not moving around anymore. I'm always out of luck when it comes to that with mini glue dots. All right, so, and now the trick is to not touch it anymore. All right, and one last thing. I don't know if you could tell in my original card here, I applied a little bit of Wink of Stella, if I can get it to open. My cap's always coming apart. I don't know what happened there. I think, there we go. So, just on the mushroom heads. And again, I'm kind of quiet focusing. All right. And then, oh, what did I just say about not touching the bow again? Yeah. So, I think it's just cute if there's a little bit glitter. I'm usually not that much of a sparkly crafter. So I apologize to everyone who loves gems and rhinestones. Of course, you can add some to this card, whatever you prefer, but this is, I don't know, let's see if the camera would catch some of that sparkle there. Yay, it does. Let's see. More the Poppy Parade than the Crushed Curry, but it's there. All right. So that was my card that I wanted to show you today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I promised you a little bonus card. So I went ahead and made a little version of this with the new, what are they called? Hippest Hippos? Yes. The stamp set and the dies, and then the really cool metallic designer series paper. So these are all Sale-A-Bration products, and it works the same way, but I used our Stylish Shapes dies. I love those. So I die cut the circle here, and I stamped my hippo on there and colored it, and then I just added some of the really cool pieces of like the die shapes that are part of that set. And then I used our brushed metallic foil here to pick up the gold from the flaps here, and that, oh, and the color combination, so it's basic white, polished pink, and Coastal Cabana. And you may have noticed I used the largest scalloped circle from our Layering Circles dies. It barely, let me zoom in here. You see that? So it barely fits. And I wasn't thinking about it when I put the card together, that most of it is actually disappearing when you put it in there. So it has the same kind of thing. So, and this measures 3 inch, so it's really nice to measure your 1.5 inch there. Okay, let's see here. Can I get it on there? All right, so. And I thought this was a really fun, maybe birthday card, or, you know, something like that. I know it says love you a ton, but I just love that sentiment. I think it's perfect for the hippos. So anyways, those were, yeah, or that is my slider card. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. And if you have any questions, just leave them below the video, and I'll try and answer them there. Or you find my email address in my PDF tutorial. So feel free to ask if you have any extra questions. All right, thank you so much for watching, and well, enjoy the rest of your Sale-A-Bration bootcamp, and see you soon. Bye.